Okay, Jeff Wilson is now a Dolphin. I did a Bradley Chubb podcast yesterday and didn't mention Wilson because running backs, when you look at their stats and then you transpose them from one team to another, it doesn't always make a clear transition because running backs, most of the production a running back has, unless they're ultra elite, comes from the offensive line. So you have to look at the back, at the offensive line he had, the offensive line he's going to, look at the stats, and then watch film to see what the deal is. Now, we gave up a 5th-round pick. We moved Edmonds on. Edmonds had butterfingers, so it was good that he did move on because we need somebody to back up Mostert. Mostert's 5'10", about 200, and Jeff Wilson is 6'2", 213, so he's a bigger guy. Not giant bigger, but he is bigger. And it's going to play into a couple things that I want to talk about to really define who Jeff Wilson is and how he can play a role for the Miami Dolphins. I like the trade, but he is not he's got 4.4 yards on the career. If you look at it, this year it's like 5-something. He's not a 5 yards per carry running back. A lot of his yards are generated through the excellent offensive line and the system that we're seeing, kind of like what we're seeing here, about how you drive teams off with formations and you create space. And then you have a back that's a good back, a quality back that can figure out where the play is going to and make that cut and pick up that yardage. And that's really what Wilson is. He's a good addition. And with some things that have happened, because Eichenberg's not going to be here for a while, I think this lineup on the offensive line is going to change. I made a prediction that ultimately Shell would slide inside and Jackson would take the right tackle spot. And now with Eichenberg injured, I see that again. I'll get into the whole offensive line thing later on because I'm not trying to make this super long. But Wilson provides a little bit of a bigger back, a little bit, not a lot, a little bit more reliable hands than Edmonds. And he can kind of hit that edge and he can hit the inside as well. And he is a good pickup. So I'm going to go through the film. I'm going to go through a bunch of analytic stats and give my yada yada and then maybe touch on the offensive line thing, why I think there's going to be a change when Jackson gets back and why this might actually be very good for Jeff Wilson from what I've seen on the film. So thanks for stopping by. It's good. It's been a little bit of a hard road the last couple of weeks. Some Phins fans have not been feeling so hot. And to me, Dolphins are family. I truly mean that. I grew up in New York as a Dolphins fan, and it was not easy. The few Dolphin fans that were around stuck together, and I really do believe that's the case. So it's good to have Chubb here. It's good to have Wilson here. It's good to have the expectations being enhanced. It's great to have the situation the Dolphins are in right now with the schedule and all the talent and all the stuff, that positivity that's going on. So thanks, guys, for stopping by here. And if you're not a Phins fan, thank you as well. Thanks for the likes, the subscribes, the views, especially the comments. I want to give you a shout out and a quick shout out to Ace Per Head, my sponsor. Because without the two of you, this show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. San Fran generates 3.1 yards before contact. The offensive line, it's not all the offensive line either. When you see it's such a great study, man. It's so intriguing. I love the combination of yards before contact and yards after contact. And the synergy between the two is just such an interesting study to me. But I'm not going to go crazy on that. But the yards before contact means the running back gets this many yards before the contact. Now, most of that comes from the offensive line, the yards before contact stat. But a running back's speed, a running back's elusiveness, that plays a role too. And it's hard to quantify exactly how much of that yards before contact is coming from the running back and how much is coming from the offensive line. Most of it's the offensive line blocking and the scheme and the creation. But as an example, Dolphins, we're not really good run blockers. We're doing a little bit better, and there's a lot to dig into that. But you'll see Mostert get to that edge and just outrun the poor blocking. And then that gives him a lot of extra space before the contact. So in that area, in that little bit of an example, you could see how the running back can increase the yards before contact. But most of it comes from the actual blocking. Now, if we look at the Dolphins, we're sub 4 yards per rush, except in 3 areas. Off the left side, tight end. So when the tight end lines up to the left side, with my man Tehran, we're going 4 yards. It's like 4.2, I think. I forgot. I wrote it down, and I got bad handwriting. So it's like above 4 yards per carry, and we've had 20 rushes there. Then we go between Connor and Hunt, the A-gap. We get 4.7 yards per carry and 29 rushes. And this is our best area to run, between Connor and Hunt. And then when we go on the outside, between Hunt and now mostly Shell, we're getting, in the B-gap, we're getting 4.6 for 22. So these are the 3 primary holes now where the running back is getting steam. And there's a big conversation to this. I'm not going to get into that. But we're able to generate on the edge to the left and in between that A and B gap on the right side. So Mostert is the kind of guy who can get to that edge and outrun bad blocks, which he does. We sometimes have been, blocked pretty well, but a lot of it's just a raw speed of him. And then think of it, the center guard, tackle. When you do a zone stretch, that all shifts down the line. And if you're running a straight inside zone, that A gap is right there, in the center, between the center. But when it's stretch, it moves down. And so now that running back, mostly, is able to stretch it and then come back. And when he comes back, it's Connor setting up the wall, or he's in a double with Hunt blowing it out, or they got the double wall set up and he comes back inside. And so those are the 3 primary areas that we're able to hit. Now, long story short, Jeff Wilson, he had 3.8 yards before contact, with the offensive line in San Fran giving an average of 3.1. So he's gotten a little bit more before contact, and that's not just luck. Some of that is his ability, and you'll see in the film, to hit the hole extremely hard. He's a one-cut, explosive runner. And some of that has to do with his long rips. He's had about 3 or 4 long rips. And there was nice holes there, but the speed and decisiveness to expose that and to accentuate it and to break it open has really elevated that yards before contact. Now, yards after contact, after he gets hit, is 1.3. It's a little bit low. And when you consider it's a little curiosity, but not really when you watch the film, because he's getting tremendous movement. Another thing with the yards before contact. When that line of scrimmage is 0, obviously, and every yard after that, when you get deeper past that line of scrimmage, you're moving past the defensive linemen who are mammoths. And even a big running back has a harder time breaking that tackle if he gets hit close to line of scrimmage, because that's usually either a linebacker firing into the hole, something went screwy, or the defensive tackle has gotten rid of the offensive lineman. Now you're trying to break free of this 300-plus pound guy. So the deeper you get past the line of scrimmage, certainly in like a 2.7 range, 3.0, you're almost past the defensive lineman, and you're dealing with secondary guys and a lot of linebackers. But he's getting 3.1, so he doesn't have great break tackle ability. And you'll see in the film, he is a one-cut, explosive pop runner who lacks lateral ability. He can pick his way through things pretty decently, and there was a couple of good ones there, but he's not going to one-on-one shake somebody. He's not going to break tackles too much, even though he's feisty when he fights through things. So this is kind of what you're seeing. Now, Mostert, He only gets 2.9 yards before contact, and he's got 1.6 after. So he's a little bit smaller guy, but he's a little bit more elusive. Edmonds, who's now gone, he was only getting 2.0 before contact and 0.9. And some of these things I talked about when we got him in free agency, both him and Mostert. But Mostert is really playing at such a high level, and Edmonds is kind of like what I thought he was, and he's not able to accentuate the situation. Now, the situation is, you go look, there's only 2 teams with sub 4 yards per carry as a defense. Everybody else in the league is giving tremendous yards in the run game. And I think this is sort of why we're heading into more running attack, because teams are seeing how can we get easy yards. And teams can't practice tackling. The tackling kind of sucks, and you're not seeing the old school, the old ways of being able to stop the run, except for 2 teams. And I think Miami Dolphins are going to become the 3rd team with Chubb, because we are tied for 7 with 7 teams at 7th at 4.2. And to me, Chubb is going to bring us really close to that 4 mark and sub 4 mark. That doesn't help us, Wilson, but I thought that was exciting and interesting. So we're seeing our runs, yards before contact, go from 2.2. Now it's all the way up to 2.7. And I think a lot of that has to do, obviously, with Waddle and Hill, teams sitting in nickel. That's what they do. They come out in nickel all day, and you got to run them out of the nickel. We couldn't do it last year, and we're starting to do it this year. And Mostert is actually making these teams pay a little bit more and boosting this offensive line with his raw speed. The addition of Shell should be recognized, too, because now you have my man Tehran, who can block really well. Connor is one of the best in the league in the center spot. And then Hunt is excellent. And then you add Shell. You really have 4 guys that are now able to block pretty well, along with some peripheral talents that here and hit and miss at the tight end and the fullback position. So we're slowly creeping into that realm of being a quality run team. It'll be interesting to see as it goes forward. Now, I'm going to take a look at the film. You get to see him run with all the stuff that I've been talking about. And you're going to see he's a quality back. His stats are a little inflated. You got Trent Williams and all the other stuff that's over there. And obviously, he's not going to kind of get that same level. Although, there is one caveat I want to mention after this film. So, let's take a look at the film and see what we see. I can see here in the inside zone, he's got the ability to bend it back, good patience, good instincts and vision, nice acceleration, little miss right there, a little shave off the blocker. Over here, he's patient enough to get inside. I think that's one of the key features, pop and patience. And I like the way he just followed his blocker and just gets straight up. A little twist over there to pick up a couple extra yards. The pitch outside, some excellent blocking. Over here, he picks up a couple more yards with the jump cut. He doesn't do a full gap jump cut, but the little half gap jump cut he shows pretty often. I like that. Over here you can see there's not really much going on, and he's not able to create too much on his own. Over here, I like this, though, the little cutback and the pop to get a big run here. But that was a very, very nice blocking. But he did a lot inside here. The acceleration to break through the hole. He doesn't get taken down by an arm. But you see right here, Mostert or a real fast back would have taken it to the hole, taken a touchdown on it. But he bends it back a little bit, picks up a couple of extras. So doesn't have elite speed. But you'd see on this one, again, he doesn't really make too much on his own. A real good back would have done a full gap jump cut and then turned it up north to pick up a couple of extra. But he just doesn't have that in his arsenal. It's not a knock on the kid. Over here, I like the patience, though. Again, you see the patience. And he's feisty. He doesn't go down easy. I like this. This is one of my favorite runs of his, actually. Real nice job. Pitch outside. And you see he gets popped right there. He doesn't have the power to break through with the movement skills. But, again, more patience. But there's some real good holes for him. And you can see right here both his speed, pop, and the holes. This is just a huge valley to run through. But he doesn't have the speed to take it a distance, but he does have enough speed to make it one nice run. This kid, if you give him a hole, he can hit it, and he's really good between the tackles. On the outsides, he doesn't have the speed of Mostert. And this is why a little bit of inside zone, and I really do believe this, not this week because Jackson's not back, but he'll be back next week. You bring Shell in with my man Teron. I got excited there. My man Teron, Shell, Connor, and Hunt. You're going to be able to stretch real nice and have a wall of cutback. And then you're going to be able to run a little inside zone because teams are going to be thinking stretch. And then you run the inside zone, and that will catch them. And then Jeff Wilson will be able to pop it. And if you can run the football with this team, with Waddle and Hill and Gesicki, and Tua's quick release, it's going to be devastating. There's a lot of things I want to talk about as far as the run game continuing forward in rougher climates and stuff as such that, but I'm not going to get into that. We're really headed in a good direction. Wilson, he's a little bit better catcher than I mentioned, but in 2020, I think it was, he got a real heavy dose of catches. He got like 28 to 25 targets, and he had 5 drops. So maybe his hands have improved. They really don't throw the ball much to him, but he is certainly a better, hopefully, improvement over Edmonds. But in the run game, I really think, especially in the shorter areas with that bigger body, the goal line and such, he's going to be a good complement with Mostert, and this whole thing could really be coming together. We'll see what happens. If Shell stays on the outside, I got a longer study for that, but I think it's clear he needs to go to left guard. It's not, you could just look quickly and say there's no pressure over there, but you have to understand why there's no pressure. And that's a longer podcast. I'm going to get into that. Actually, the next podcast I'm going to do after this is going to be Shell, the protection of Shell, and Robert Jones at left guard. From the last game, I'm going to use the film and get into that. But this is a good move. Not in the realm anywhere of Chubb, but this was a good move. And we do have great potential to boost this run game and make this offense super duper. And I ain't playing. And I'm very conservative, but I'm telling you, it is so close. Anyway, this is Curtis saying thanks for staying to the end. Please like, comment, subscribe if you don't mind. Catch you next time, Fin fans. The stars could be finally aligning for us. We'll see. Be excited, but hold tight, but be a little excited. See you soon. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.